Cheers, I do buckaroos, and how the heck are you? Let me get this fixed in case it didn't fix itself. I keep trying to fix it, but I can't figure out. And then, but I mentioned before, I'll have it fixed for a period of time, and somehow it just goes back to, oh, I think, well, that's not it. Anyways, never mind. I call this a grab bag video because I didn't know what I was going to have when I started. When I set it up, then I decided to finish off a few things here, or a couple things, I should say. Let me edit this real fast. All right, there we go. Anyway, I digress. So here's what I did. So I did a video at 5 o'clock, several hours earlier, where I did a Manhattan and an old fashioned, and I'm doing the same thing now, but slightly different. So when I set up the old fashioned earlier, I used the Maker's Mark cask, and when I did the Manhattan, I used the Balcones Texas rye at 100 proof. This time I kind of swapped them a little bit. I used the rest of the Balcones rye, and I had about an ounce and a half left, so it's a little bit shorter. I used that for my old fashioned. So I've got the rye. I've got about a half ounce of ginger simple syrup, candied ginger garnish, as you can see, and a few dashes of cardamom bitters. And then for the Manhattan, well, I used the bourbon for the Manhattan. I had about 2 ounces of that left, so I finished it off in here. Let me show you that Manhattan. So I did about 2 ounces of the bourbon, about a half ounce of sweet vermouth, the cherry garnish, as you can see in there, and the toasted almond bitters. So I'm going to start with the old fashioned because I do feel like that drink needs to be drank a little bit colder than a Manhattan does, in my particular opinion. Again, and most people like an old fashioned on the rocks. I'm just one of those folks that don't. I'm not crazy about ice. Every once in a while, you'll see me, use an ice cube to serve it on the rocks. But typically, if I can do a straight up, especially going into the winter, into the late fall and winter, you're going to see me drink everything about like this. I don't want anything on ice. I do prefer a straight up cocktail, which is probably why I prefer the Manhattan to the old fashioned. But there's nothing wrong with making yourself a straight up old fashioned either. Oh, man, that is good. I love this rye in the Manhattan, so I put it in this old fashioned this time, and it really gives it something a little extra. That rye is just insanely good. That 100 proof pot still rye, it is very distinctive. And then with that ginger syrup, it really lends itself well to this cocktail. It really does. Maybe even more so than it did a Manhattan. It really works. Because I mean that again, that rye is so distinctive. And in case you're not sure, no, I'm really not really not in the bowels of hell. No, that's a nice looking fire. Anyway, it's just my television set. I like to watch the fireplace on a TV set. I'm not trying to fool you, just trying to set a mood. Just setting the mood, man. Just setting the mood. If anybody's got any questions or comments, please throw it up there on the screen. I'll answer almost anything. And I say almost because there is a caveat. The caveat being, if you're just going to be a dick, no, I'm not going to give you screen time. I had this one troll for a while there that just wanted to be a colossal ass hat. So no, if you're just going to be a dick, no, I'm not going to, I'm not going to give you any airtime. But I will answer almost anything. I mean, anybody that's watched any of my videos knows I'm pretty much an open book, right? I don't hide anything. I don't have the ability to be honest with you. I'm a classic oversharer, as they say. Anyway, I digress. But I digress, man. I'm a classic oversharer. I really am. Mm. Man, that's a nice old fashioned. I picked up this candy ginger. I got to show this to you. I picked up this candy ginger at Trader Joe's, and I really love this stuff. It's been great for garnishes, but after it soaks in that alcohol, it tastes really good. It does have sugar on it, so that sugar kind of, dissolves into your cocktail. So I don't know that I want it in a Manhattan. I haven't tried it yet, but it works perfect for an old fashioned. It really does. It's probably more of a cordial glass, I suppose. My wife picked up a lot of these glasses at various thrift stores, places we've been to. And I just kind of like the shape of this one. I think it works well. I've used it as a Manhattan glass. Although if it doing with the what I've had to work with here, it works well for a straight up old fashioned. So anyway, cilantro. So using a different glass here, this one I love this shape because I've been to a lot of places where they'll use a glass very similar to this for a Manhattan. So I do love this glass for a Manhattan. Typically I fill it up to the top, but again I'm just finishing stuff off. So I had about 2 ounces of this Maker's left. I used about half ounce of sweet vermouth, a few dashes of toasted almond bitters, little dark cherry garnish on the bottom, as you can see. Finished off those 2 bottles this evening, making 2 cocktails out of each. The second round was a little bit lighter. I just wanted to finish off what I had left without going to something else. If I don't want to open up anything until I can finish off some of this other stuff, I don't want to finish off everything. Don't get me wrong, because I like having several bottles open at a time because, well, I don't know what I'm going to be in the mood for at any particular time, to be honest with you. But I do have too many open at the moment, which is why I've kind of focused on finishing off a few bottles. That and well, as we get close to the holidays, I tend to want to open stuff up. So I'm giving myself up until that weekend, or that weekend, right about the weekend just before Thanksgiving, and then I'll probably open a handful again. I'll start with one, but it's probably going to end up with about 4 bottles being opened through that Thanksgiving weekend. Oh man, that is delicious. This whiskey's good. The Maker's Mark cask isn't bad, but the thing is, for me, to be honest with you, I like it, but at the stores it runs about, can't remember, it's about 60, 65, something like that. But I picked it up for about $15 less at the big box store. And the truth is, will I buy it again even at the big box store? Oh, probably not, because there are just so many others that I want to have. But it is good. There's certainly not anything wrong with it. I just, my taste kind of go a different direction. But I've been buying a lot of smaller distillery products, but typically right about this time of the year, I do go to the big box store and buy, anywhere between 2 and 6 bottles over the course of the next 2 months. Because the products that they have are so much cheaper than buying it at the liquor store. I mean, so much. I mean, in the past, I bought Jefferson's Oceans for about $25 less than the liquor store had it for. The makers I showed you, the piggyback, whistle pig piggyback, and there are others there. So I'm gonna take a look. Sometimes I buy even more inexpensive whiskeys, like a Larceny, for instance. Usually runs about $5 less there. So it's about time for me to take a walk to one of the 2 big box stores that we've had, either Costco or Sam's, and buy a couple bottles here and a couple there to stock up the liquor pantry, if you will, for the holiday season. Because you go through more stuff during the holidays, don't you? Well, most of us do. You got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas, you got Festivus. If you celebrate Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, I'm with you. I mean, they're not my holidays per se, but I'll celebrate them with you. If you invite me over for a Kwanzaa celebration, I'm in. I don't have an issue. And of course, you got New Year's Eve, and probably going to end up working New Year's Eve this year, which will be the first one I work in a very long time. Uh, but I mean, even if I work, and I'm going to be off by 7:30 at the latest, so I'm really not sweating that either. This does make a nice Manhattan, though. I will tell you that Makers does make a nice Manhattan. I used about a half ounce of sweet vermouth. Some people want to use more. Some people will put more of a balance between the liquor and the whatever else. I don't. I find if I'm making it an old fashioned, if I'm using a simple syrup, yeah, I want about a half ounce to three-quarters of an ounce at the most. I don't make mine near as sweet as most folks do. And when I'm making a Manhattan where folks will add an ounce and a half of sweet vermouth, yeah, about a half ounce is fine for me. And there's been sometimes I've only added a quarter ounce, just enough to know I've got that in there, right? The Manhattan version of a very dry martini, if you will. Do like a Manhattan, though, I tell you. The more I drink them, the more I like them. But I didn't want to kind of finish these off. I was getting real close, so I made the drinks a little bit smaller than the typical because I had just enough to finish these two bottles off. Get them out of the way, make some space, make room for something else. But yeah, I've made a pact to myself that I'm not going to open another bottle till at the very earliest that weekend before Thanksgiving. But I'm really going to try to hold off to that Wednesday before Thanksgiving, or at least that Tuesday, because that's usually when I start prepping stuff. We haven't decided. Thanksgiving's a tough holiday for the wife and I because it was our son's favorite holiday. So we don't typically do a lot. Sometimes we disappear. To be honest with you, well, sometimes we go out of town. Sometimes we just tell people we're going out of town and just turn everything off. Uh, you should tell us that, Tom, because now we know. So I don't. I never know if I'm going to fix the Thanksgiving dinner or not. Or sometimes we may just have a sandwich. I just don't know. In fact, I don't know until that day, to be honest with you, what I'm able to do. But I do have Thanksgiving and the Friday after off, so we can we can do something or not, depending on what we want to do. Sometimes we just want to stay in bed and cry for 2 days. Uh, it just kind of depends. A lot of folks want to tell you that grief runs on a straight line, right? But it doesn't. Things get better with time. No, they don't. You either find a way to keep moving forward or you don't. It's really that simple. And grief does what it's going to do. You can't control how you're going to feel on any given day. It's just the way it is. And certain days are going to hit you harder for different reasons. And you never know what it's going to be. There are times you think, okay, you got it together, you're ready. Then you something will trigger a specific memory, and there you are. you know, you're grief stricken and numb, and you don't know what to do about it. So we try not to make plans. I don't like to. Sometimes I do. I just, like I said, we just never know what we're going to feel like. So we kind of try to play it by ear. I just like to always make sure I'm off Thanksgiving and the day after. That way we can, do something or not. There are days I can try to be happy and smile when I have to go to work, but there are certain days I can't even muster that. And Thanksgiving is one of those days. I don't want to be around people that think I need to be happy. I don't want to be around those people. It's too hard to be around family, to be honest with you, especially family that thinks you should be at a certain place by now. Those that haven't really, endured loss like that, so they think they know how you should act. Anyways, I digress. I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom, and All around good guy. Sláinte. Thanks for tuning